Okay. Thank you. So everyone knows my name now. That's okay. I don't need to cover that. So thank you. So I'm in the privileged pre-lunch slot. So that carries a lot of responsibility. I'm not going to go on too long. I'm going to leave time for questions as well. So maybe talk for about 15, 20 minutes, and then we can do Q&A after that. I'm also around during lunch and all afternoon, so you don't have to get it in straight away here if you want to ask me something later. We'll have plenty of time today. So I'm going to try and talk about three things today about what PlayStation First is. Some of you guys might know that already, which is great. I'm going to talk about how you can develop on PlayStation, how you can be a developer on PlayStation. Then I'm going to do some future gazing. So Des, you kind of shied away from this. I'm going to try and look into the future. I'm going to take up your challenge and look into what's going to happen in the future, all in about 15, 20 minutes. So if I talk too fast, then that's the reason why. But first, I thought I'd tell you very quickly a little about me in 3 pictures to cover 30+ years. I'm not going to say how old I am exactly. So first of all, I wanted to be Spider-Man when I was younger. That was my dream. I still think that's a realistic career ambition. So don't give up on your dreams. That's my one message today. Then I was a writer for a little bit, which is great. You get to grow a beard because no one's there to question your grooming habits when you're alone in a room writing stuff. So that's really good. But now I work at PlayStation. So I work in our London office, which is our European headquarters. So I wake up every day like that. I didn't think I'd work at PlayStation when I was younger. It didn't exist when I was younger. I was the Sega, Nintendo, BBC computer kid. So I get to wake up every morning. And the coolest part of my job is I get to work with a lot of student teams. So I help students make games on PlayStation. So the cool thing about my job is I get to see what you guys create pretty much every day. So the big question, how can you make games on PlayStation? So look, Des covered it this morning. Now is an awesome time if you're wanting to make games in general, but also on PlayStation itself as well. Right? So the tools that you need are already available. You had Mike from Epic talking about Unreal, whether it's Unity or other game engines, Game Maker, those are all readily available to you now, right? And they all work on PlayStation. So now's a great time. The barriers to entry are as low now as they've ever been. So if you look at PS4 and the kind of games coming out on that, you've got small developers, very small teams making games, right up to obviously the EAs and the Ubisofts. So there's no real barrier to stop you from making a game on PlayStation now. So it is an accessible platform, like I said, but it's not an open platform. So you will need to register to be on PlayStation. That's pretty straightforward now. It's not too much work, and I can say that with real confidence because I talked to our third-party team who deal with all our external developers. And now's a really good time to be approaching Sony. So you can do that kind of 2 ways, really, in terms of how you can develop and how you can get your hands on PlayStation hardware. The first way is I guess you'd call it my way, right? So it's our PlayStation First academic program. So that's what I work on. And what that's about is it's about bringing new talent to PlayStation. So we make our professional development tools available to select universities around the world. So students, guys like you can work on PlayStation kit, the same kit that any developer would make a PlayStation game on. Right? So the thing is, we want students to learn real console development at university, right? So you can leave university, you can approach a developer and say, hey, look, I've worked on PS4, I've worked on Sony's proprietary engine, Fire Engine, a C++ engine. Here's a game I've made on PlayStation. So you can do that. You can set yourself up as a developer in your own right because you've got the skills and you've got the nous of having worked on our kit. Or you can maybe come and work at PlayStation at one of our studios or our R&D department. And we've got some really good stories about graduates coming to join us. And we're really good at looking at new talent and bringing them into our studios. So who's got a PS4 at home? That's an awesome raise of hands. Okay, it's like 50% of the audience. Excellent. So how many of you have played Peaceful? All right, you've got to go home and play Peaceful tonight or this weekend when you get a shot. It's a game made by students from Sheffield Hallam University. Came out in July this year, and they made that within their course. They made it and they published it on the PlayStation Store. Go online now, you can buy it for 99 pence. And it's a really nice kind of Tetris-like Zen local multiplayer game. So if they can do it, then you can do that as well, right? So there's nothing to stop you from making a game. And have a look at what they've done with it as well. It's a really good local co-op game. I'd recommend it. But obviously, yes, so we've got students making games on PlayStation right now. We also have student projects on PlayStation as well. So part of my role is to link up our studios and our R&D departments with universities around Europe. So I just work around Europe. I don't have the world reach just yet. I'm working on that. But Europe for us is anything that's not America or Asia. So I get to work with a lot of universities around the world. And there are some really great projects that we work on with students. It could be that you're looking at apps or services. Doesn't always have to be games to be of interest to us. And you'll see that more and more with VR that's coming out in the next bit. Looking at non-game projects is a really good area to look at if you're doing that for whether it's research or your MSc, anything like that. So that's one way you can develop on PlayStation. You can be at a university that's part of our PlayStation First program. Or you can go another way, right? So you can register as a company or a sole trader yourself. You can become a registered developer on PlayStation. So just follow that link, and then that will guide you through what you need to do. But it's very simply, you need to give a content plan. So kind of, what are you working on? And it's not an approval process. We're not going to say, oh, that sounds good or that sounds less good. It's really so we know what you're working on. So we just have some information on, oh, you are a developer, you do intend to make a game, but it doesn't tie you to a release date or it doesn't tie you to making that specific game. But that's one requirement you need to do. You'll need to be a sole trader or a registered company. So that's how you become a registered developer. You can, if you're a sole trader, you need like a passport or a scan of your passport, something like that, or a tax letter. Or you can go to a company's house, right? Register as a company, maybe what's that, 20 quid now, so it's pretty good. And then you sign a legal agreement with us, and that's how you get onto our program. And you can ask questions as well. There's nothing to stop you from registering as a PlayStation developer and just working on your game. You don't have to have a release date in mind. And our third-party team are a good bunch to talk to. You can have a conversation with them once you're registered as a PlayStation developer. And either way you go through, right? So if you go through our PlayStation First program or you go through the registered developer route, you become part of the PlayStation community, right? So students who are at universities on our program now, they're part of the PlayStation community. They get to go onto our developer network. They get to talk to each other. They can interact with our dev support team, who are the team that help out all developers making games on PlayStation. These are all real people that work at PlayStation as well. I haven't dragged, these are real smiley people that work in our office. Everyone's really nice. That's the thing about where we work. Everyone loves playing games. And like I said, right, if you're on our program or if you're a registered developer, you've got a kind of a whole plethora of engines to choose from. So all the ones you're using now, they're going to work on PlayStation. So that's my kind of preamble, right? So that's how you can develop on PlayStation. So feel free to come to me afterwards if you want to talk a bit more about that. But what I wanted to do very quickly, how much time have I got? Okay, I've got 10 minutes. Okay, so I wanted to look ahead a little bit, right, about the future. So I know it's not easy, right, but I was out in Finland a couple of weeks ago, and I was part of a panel where we talked about the future of games, like, you know, what are we going to be playing in 5 years? So very easy questions, right? Oh, yeah, we can do that. But it got me thinking, right? So today's a very significant day, 2015. And it got me thinking about all those predictions that we saw when we were younger. I think Des knows where I'm going. So it got me thinking, like, all those things you kind of thought, oh, man, the future is going to be so amazing. Look at all the stuff we'll get, right? So We didn't get everything we wanted to, so I'm still holding out for that. But we did get some stuff, right? So all those kind of things we think, man, we're going to be working on some pretty cool tech and some kit when we're older. Google Glass is out, right? AR, that's the kind of stuff we're doing now. And there are kind of different views at the moment about what the future of gaming is. So this panel I was on, we started off by being asked, do we think we're going to be playing games on VR in 5 years? Do we think we're going to be playing games on AR in 5 years? Do we think we're going to be playing games on things like Apple Watch or things like that? So about 4 or 5 of us on the panel, all pretty clued up. And most people on the panel, when the question was asked, are we going to be playing on VR? Are we going to be playing on AR? Are they going to be the long-term future of games? Most of them looked like this, right? That's a visual representation of the attitude of the panel, right? They're like, not sure, not convinced, can't see it happening. Whereas me, I was kind of the one going, hey, what are you talking about? This is cool stuff we're working with. And some people hadn't played a lot of VR, or some people hadn't played a lot on those platforms. Maybe that was what it was. So for example, who's played VR at the moment? Who's played virtual reality, whether it's Oculus, PlayStation VR? Okay, so for those, it's maybe a quarter of the audience, so a quarter of you have played VR. So it's really in its kind of infancy right now, so maybe that was it. But I was kind of surprised by the panel. And basically, let me try and get a better visual representation of the panel. So most of them were like that. I was like this, right? So I was the one saying, look, you guys have got to think about what games can be in VR or AR, or what the non-game potential of VR and AR is. Because that's what I wanted to kind of touch on, right? Because all those naysayers out there who are saying, I'm not convinced about VR, I'm not convinced about this, you guys can change that opinion with a killer game or a killer app or a killer kind of tour or an experience. And that's what you've got to think about, the experience you can give to gamers now. Because it's so different now to what it was when I was growing up, right? So I grew up in the 80s. I'm not, I think that's okay. I'm still age blurry when I say that, right? So I lived in the 80s, and so my gaming experience was if I wanted to play the awesome Double Dragon, I would have to load it up. That would take a while. I'd have to invite friends round to my physical house, to arrange a time, be in when they called. I had to pick up my telephone and make sure that they called me at a certain time. So back then, for me to play Double Dragon was a lot of work, right? So I felt like I was in service to technology. I had to be in a certain place, and I had to do a certain thing for it to meet my needs. Whereas now, it's kind of the other way around, right? So technology is in service to us. So if we want something, then if we want to buy the latest product, it's got to do exactly what we want, when we want, and it's got to allow us to do it freely, right? And with anyone we want to. So that got me thinking about today's gamer, right? So that's the kind of the who's playing games now, and who do you need to pitch your game to, right? So PS4, half of the audience have got PS4, right? So you may identify yourself in these slides I talk through now. So the PS4 gamer, what are we talking about when we talk about the modern gamer? So they want real-time social experiences, right? So they want to have that social aspect, and PS4 is built with a social thing in mind. They want people to kind of give them a thumbs up. They want to be able to interact with people while they play their game, right? So not just me in my bedroom doing a high five with the guy when we tag team on Double Dragon, but actually you can go online and share your experience with others. You can go on Twitch, you can upload it. And you want to have that community, right? So it's all about the community of gamers now. So you've got to think about how your game can be shared because we've heard about, or we might hear about the marketing of games. Like, how do you market your game, right? Do you go on Twitter? Do you use Facebook yourself? But gamers are going to be your best marketers, really. They're going to be the ones who can sell your game for you when they share it online. When you think about how many users UKIE has got, was it 40 million watchers of his YouTube channel? So when you think about your game, you've got to think, like, how's that going to be shared by gamers? And look, that's so important. I've put a big red circle around it. So you've got to think about how your game then is going to hit the need of the modern gamer, right? So it can't just be what can be a single isolated experience. Those are still working, right? There's nothing wrong. So this approach is one approach that I'm talking about. You can still play Alien Isolation and still have a really, really good experience with the lights turned out alone in your room. And when this weekend rolls around, I'm pretty much going to do that with the Uncharted collection. I'm just going to turn off the lights. I'm going to enjoy that for about 10 hours. But the future is now, right? So we talk about, like, what are we going to do in the future? We're there now. So all that stuff we kind of think, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could do that? Or wouldn't it be amazing to be in the game itself? That's now, right? So you have the potential to create the games of the future now. And that's what I'm kind of hoping that you're going to do. PlayStation VR is going to launch first half of 2016. And when you say that, that's, well, 2016, that's a few months away, right? 2016 is around the corner. So the future is kind of happening now. So there's some really interesting stuff that I've been looking at. Who's got an iKettle? Anyone? You can switch on your kettle from your seat. You can tell it to do stuff. You can get that cup of tea boiled, so as soon as you walk into the kitchen, it's ready for you, right? There's a recent story about someone hacking into iKettles, so you've got to be careful. It's going to be like a Terminator type, kind of Skynet, kind of kettles fight back. I'm worried about that. Netflix button, anyone heard about this that's happening? So there'll be one button that you can control your lights of your house in. You can order takeout. You can control the temperature. You can do that all with one button. So we're talking about that. Anyone heard about Project Impacto? All right. On the back row, you're the one who's reading all the stuff that I'm reading as well. So it's a VR experience being made in Germany, but it's pretty much like wearable tech, right? So if you want to feel what it's like to be punched and kicked in a boxing game, you put on your pads and you're in the VR game and you're going to feel every blow, every kind of hit as you take it. Probably not the best health and safety game to kick off VR with. And I'm not condoning that kind of game in any way, but that's the kind of stuff we're looking at. So wearable tech, how can you use wearable tech in your game? How can that create another level of immersion in your game? So that's the really cool stuff. So what you've got to do when you make your game, or one thing you can do when you make your game, because you don't have to do it one way or the other, there's going to be lots of different ways to make a game, but you've got to strive for innovation, right? So how is your game innovative? So Des was talking about the multitude of games that are out there now. So many games are vying for gamers' attentions. How's yours going to stand out? So you've got little innovation. So I always think about that like a slight increment in what's come before. So the latest FIFA, it'll be kind of nice and a little bit better. The tackling will be smoother, or it'll be more realistic, or you'll get up quicker if you're Hector Bellerin. You'll be really good. Or you've got big innovation, right? So something we've never seen before. So whether that's something like Portal, you're jumping through levels and you're mixing it up, something that we haven't really seen before. And innovation doesn't have to be like AAA, kind of like, whoa, kind of stuff, because we can't all make AAA games. But it could be other stuff as well. Like, I look at Papers, Please and Lucas Pope. His next game, he's kind of making it with a 1-bit art style. So you could find ways of being innovative on a smaller scale as well. And again, look, I've circled that in red because it's really important. And so the thing is, with this kind of an innovative approach, right, you've got to be unafraid of failure. And I think I heard that in one of the talks this morning about failure is a good thing, right? So last week, Yeah, last week I actually went surfing for the first time abroad because it's too cold here. So this was me last week, pretty much, but probably not looking as cool as that. Probably looking like maybe less kind of professional than that, because those are big waves, and I was kind of near the shore. But that's the thing, right? You're gonna get that a lot, but that's a good thing, right? So if you look at Sony, our London studio, they've always been a very innovative studio. So they did iToy, they did augmented reality with Wonderbook, the Wonderbook series of games where you open the book and the book comes to life with Book of Spells or that kind of game. And now they're working with PlayStation VR. So they're very innovative in the games they make. They're not off-the-shelf kind of genre games. They're trying to break the mold. And so their kind of philosophy is if they're not making mistakes, then they're not trying hard enough. And so don't be afraid to have those mistakes and to have those wipeouts, right? Because ultimately, that's what happens at the end of it. All those mistakes, all those failures, that's your learning curve. And that was so almost me this time last week. I was so close. But if you go surfing, and I've got very little body fat, so my ribs still are absolutely killing me. So no one hug me too hard today if you can, because I'm still feeling it. But that's ultimately what you're going for, right? That's what your ultimate game will look like. After all those wipeouts, after all those failures, after your kind of like future gazing, look, we can do something special here. That's going to be your game. That's going to be the feeling that you'll get from it. So that's the kind of message that I would want to leave you with, really, that push the boundaries. So think about those innovative experiences you can bring to the gamer and think about how your game is going to be the game that changes the mind of that panel I was on last week, where they're like, I'm not sure about VR, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure. All it takes is a few games to change people's minds, and that game could come from you guys here, and I hope it does. So that's, I think that's pretty much my time. Yeah, I've got 5 minutes for questions. So any questions? Someone got a box here. So if we do need here we go, right. So any questions? I'll throw something at you. Any questions? Oh,
sorry.
Oh, Bobby, can we do it?
Oh, hang on.
Up on the...
Oh, I'm not very good at this. I'm going to pass it to you.
So if I was to build a online multiplayer game for the PS4 right now, would I be able to allow users the full kind of online experience without them having to buy into PS Plus?
You can do you can do share. So you can do share play.
But not the full kind of peer-to-peer multiplayer.
I'd have to check with the team about that. So you want to make an online game
focused around co-op, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's it. PlayStation Plus is online player, but I'll come back to you about that. That's a good question. But pretty much if you have PlayStation Plus, that gives you online multiplayer.
Oh, who do you want next?
Oh, front row.
I'm in front row, and then you can throw it backwards, and it'll be yours.
Oh dear. So with getting access to the developer stuff, does that include the hardware? Because I know previously it's always been very, very sort of secretive and locked down with the dev hardware for good reason.
Yeah.
With the exception of the NetEase and things, but.
Are you at university yourself now?
Yeah, we actually have a PlayStation First staff at uni, but
really?
I'm at UKIE.
Okay.
I'm doing a placement year and would quite like to sort of do some PlayStation stuff.
Okay.
With myself, so yeah, I don't know.
So you're thinking about registering as a developer in your own right? Okay, yeah. So you register, no cost to register, right? So you can do that unless you want to go to a company's house and pay the fee to set up. So with dev kits, with PlayStation dev kits, historically you do have to pay for those, but you can talk to teams within PlayStation, right? So once you've registered, you'll talk to our third-party team, and you can pitch your idea, right? You can say, hey, look, I'm working on this really cool game or this project. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's novel and it's not something that's around much. And so there are cases where you can talk to them about maybe getting some support for that. So it's a rubbish answer, I'm afraid, so I can't commit in terms of that.
Fine.
But it's also, we do have experience of loaning kit to some developers, but it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Right, so if your game is something we've not seen before, or the team are thinking, wow, that's niche, that's novel, or that's really cool, then there's lots of potential for you to talk about that.
Okie dokie. Cheers. Who's this going to? Okay. Dan, hands out.
Is there any time frame on when SDK 3 will be supported in Unity 5?
Sorry,
Any plans for the SDK 3 to be supported in Unity 5, like a time frame?
I will ask, come and see me afterwards, I'll take your message, there's a colleague in our office who I'll talk to about that.
Thank you.
So we're just swapping over. So we mind
Oh.
stepping over
Here,
here
yeah.
to answer questions while we swap over. Yep.
The mic's on here, isn't it? Yeah, okay, cool. I played around with the PlayStation Mobile SDK before it was taken down. I was just wondering if there's going to be any other SDKs where you're going to be merging with platforms like you did with the PS Vita and Android.
Not that I know of. So yeah, you worked on PlayStation Mobile, which was cool. But if you're not that I know of on Android, but are you at university yourself as well now?
College at the moment.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, have your college talk to us, and you can talk to us about maybe coming onto the PlayStation First program. They can talk to me. So yeah, I'm just Luke_Savage at ski.net. So kind of a simple email at PlayStation. It's kind of like a first name, surname with an underscore in there.
Okay.
But yeah, come and talk to me, and we can have a conversation afterwards.
Which college are you at?
Warwickshire College.
Okay, we'll get the details to
Yeah.
Mike, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your head? Yeah, we'll get the details to Mike. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so someone's got a headshot.
All right. Are you aware of the company Gaikai?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not really knowledgeable about this yet, so I'm not going to ask you.
Good, I'm glad. All right, we're on the same level. Right,
Okay,
yeah.
so my question is the future of the PlayStation console going to be based on Gaikai's technology of streaming pretty much software or programs directly to Gaikai's hardware? So my question is, will future consumers purchase pretty much a shell of a console with minimum specs while paying for, let's say, a subscription to PlayStation, the same that we're already paying, and get a better hardware specs from external source? The reason I'm asking is because right now console compared to the PC generally has lower specs. It doesn't evolve as well. So the Gaikai kind of solves that issue. So I'm just asking.
So you're talking almost like cloud computing. You're talking
Yeah,
about
that's what
cloud
Gaikai
gaming,
does,
right?
Yeah.
Look, that's not an easy question to answer.
Okay.
So that's when I was saying I'll do a bit of future gazing. I can't predict that. So what are we going to be playing in 5-10 years? It's really tough. I personally think VR is an awesome experience. So I'm diverting very briefly, but cloud computing. Look, how fast are we going to be able to have internet that works for that, and broadband? So not all areas are going to be at the same level. So I think there'll always be a need for dedicated hardware, right? So even me, right? So I'm still like old school in terms of I like buying physical product, and I think there's still a part of our brain, in terms of my generation, that likes to have the physical hardware itself. So it's a question for you guys as well. Like, how do you play your games now? Can you see yourselves having, just a kind of a cloud experience, so you've not got the physical device as such, or like you said, it's a kind of a shell? I think there's definite potential in cloud gaming, and this is me just talking personally and not with a company line. But it's a tough one. It's about broadband speed around the world, right? So not everyone's going to be able to have the same experience. The cool thing about console is it's fixed, right? So if you go, some of you might buy PlayStation VR when it comes out, next year. That'll be the same experience across the board, right? So if you've got PlayStation VR, it's on your PS4, so it'll be the same experience. Obviously, with VR on PC, everyone's going to have different specs on their PC, so the experience will be different. So I think console is going to be here for a while. We heard about the death of consoles, and then you look at the how many sales have been since PS4 launched. So I think all those things about like consoles are dead and hardware is on the way out, I don't think we should read too much into that. So that's a very long-winded answer.
I'm really, really sorry, everybody, but we have actually just run out of time. So could you give Luke a round of applause?
Oh, thank you.